Tonight on News at 9, against Uma Oya, the city of Bandarawela comes to a standstill as protesters demand solution for the environmental degradation from the Uma Oya project.
First at 9, this is Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, garbage crisis. Residents block the fleet of garbage vehicles, but police intervenes as garbage dumping continues in MUTHURAJAWELA. Against Saitam, another protest organized in Colombo over the private medical institution. New constitution. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe assures new laws of the land will not divide the country. And in international headlines, global cyber attack. A massive ransomware attack hits businesses around the world, causing major companies to shut down their computer systems. Good evening everyone, Mahesh Johnny for Derana 24/7. Tonight we begin in the hills of Sri Lanka as the entire town of Bandarawela came to a standstill today due to a massive protest and a harthal organised by the residents of the area. They were protesting against the implementation of the Uma Oya multipurpose development project. This, as you can imagine, resulted in a heavy traffic congestion as vehicles entering the Bandarawela town on the main road were completely blocked. The protest lasted over 7 hours and was later called off after assurance by the government.
In 2009, with funds from the government of Iran, the Uma Oya multipurpose development project was initiated to deliver water to the dry zone of the country and to generate electricity alongside as well. As the project progressed, 7,037 houses in the area witnessed cracks. The area meanwhile dried up severely, resulting in the protest and harthal this morning. Shops and day-to-day activities in the town of Bandarawela came to a standstill. People from several villages in the surrounding areas of Bandarawela also participated at the event. The private bus owners too joined the harthal and protest today. Meanwhile, traffic in Badula-Colombo main road completely came to a standstill with the protest occurring in the middle of the city. No vehicular traffic managed to pass through the city. Accordingly, Badula-Colombo main road, Bandarawela-Ampitiya road, Bandarawela-Valimada road and Bandarawela-Diyathalawa road were completely blocked. One of the main requests by the protesters was that President Maithripala Sirisena to visit the area.
We have named this the Black Harthal of the Eastern Hills. All the shops are closed down today. Schools and courts are closed. We didn't come today to halt the struggle. Rulers destroyed the wells, houses and the hills for commissions. We request the President to visit Bandarawela within 5 days. He should see the damage done. We will stay here until 3 this morning, and unless the promise is made, we will not stop.
Meanwhile, back in Colombo, at the media briefing to announce cabinet decisions, Minister Dasri Jasekar announced the position of the government on the matter.
Ministers Mahinda Amravira, Champika Ranawaka, Vijit Muni are appointed to look into the matter. This project commenced under Iranian aid by the previous government. There is a huge debt to be paid. The cabinet will take a decision after discussing it with the people.
Meanwhile, Minister Harin Fernando, prior to a media briefing by him on the matter, called President to inform him about the protest. After that, subsequent to discussions, he took steps to relate back to the protesters of the decision taken by the President.
ජයසූරිය ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැන් කතා කරා. මම සමින්දර අනිත් පැත්තෙන් කතා කරා. සිකුරාදා හවස 6ට ජනාධිපතිතුමා එන්න කියලා දුන්නා. මම ෆැක්ස් එකක් දානවා. දැන් ෆැක්ස් නම්බරයක් මම ඉල්ලගත්තා. හරිද? දැන් මම ගහනවා ෆැක්ස් එක. හරි?
As I always say, I will stand against the government if this is not done properly.
Meanwhile, UMP parliamentarian Chaminda Vijayasiri took steps to inform the protesters as to what Minister Harin Fernando has promised to do to solve the matter. However, the protesters rejected the claim and requested they need an assurance from the President and not from ministers.
අද ග්‍රාම සේවා වසම් 26කට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. තවත් තියෙනවා කිලෝමීටර් 5ක් හරන්න. ඒ 5 යනකොට තවත් ග්‍රාම සේවා වසම් 15ක් 20ක් ගොදුරු වෙන්න තියෙනවා.
අපිට ඇත්තටම කිසිම සහනයක් ලැබිලා නැහැ මෙතෙක් කාලයක්.
දරුපොල් ඔක්කොම අනාථයි. ඉන්න තැනක් නැතුව තමයි අපි මේ උද්දෝෂණයට ආවේ.
Amidst the saga, tense situation arose when the police attempted to arrest two individuals who tried to create chaos. Later, the duo escaped by a car. Protesters also blocked the upcountry railway line, specifically the Podimanike train, which was on its way towards Badula from Colombo. According to our reporters, the riot police had to be deployed to control the situation. After much discussion, the secretary to the governor of Uva province, H.M. Somatilaka, approached the protesters and declared the promise made by the president, following which the protest was called off.
A discussion on the difficulties the locals have to face because of the Uma Oya project will be held at the president's residence on the 30th of June at 6 o'clock. Another protest march against Saitam was held in Colombo today. The protest was organized by the Medical Faculty Students' Parents Association and several political parties.
Parents of university students cited that the government is attempting to expel the group of university students who engaged in protests against Saitam. The protest commenced at Vihara Mahadevi Park and concluded in Fort Colombo this afternoon. Showing their support were the Government Medical Officers Association, the Medical Faculty Students' Parents Association, the Inter-University Students' Federation, Students' Working Committee of the Medical Faculty, the People's Liberation Front and the Frontline Socialist Party. Citing that the protests could cause inconvenience to the public, the Cinnamon Gardens police had requested a prohibition order from the Colombo Magistrate Court. However, it had been rejected by the magistrate. The protest was held opposite the Ministry of Health against the attack on university students recently. Thereafter, the protest march made their way to the Fort railway station.
We are protesting because our children have been assaulted. We would like to tell the government that the final battle will be won when Saitam becomes the 9th state university in Sri Lanka. The government has made a statement that they will not hold discussions with anyone. When they are to hold discussions, they will hold talks with the government-appointed UGC. They will cast out Dr. Carlo Fonseca from the chairman position of the SLMC and will appoint a puppet chairman in his place.
Meanwhile, a group of students who were attempting to erect a stage in order to conduct a hunger strike opposite the railway station were interrupted by railway guards, which resulted in a tense situation. However, the students continued their protest and held a public gathering.
Meanwhile, Cabinet co-spokesperson Gayantha Karunathilaka announced today during the weekly Cabinet briefing that Cabinet of Ministers has approved the proposal on taking over ownership of Saitam completely once an outstanding bank loan is paid off in a period of 10 years. Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital proved to be capable of development when they treated 3,000 outward patients and 100 inward patients. However, because of the current situation, a problem has risen with admitting a sufficient number of patients so that medical students can get their proper training. After considering reasons such as how eastern areas of Colombo lack enough number of hospitals and how Neville Fernando Hospital is situated closer to the highway, the Cabinet of Ministers had approved the proposal to take the particular hospital under the purview of the government to completely overtake ownership of the hospital after paying off a loan over a period of 10 years, which had been borrowed from Bank of Ceylon. Under the particular proposal, the Cabinet of Ministers also approved to allow the hospital be managed by a board of administratives appointed by Health Ministry. Accordingly, processes of Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital will be managed similar to the Sri Javadanapura General Hospital.
ඇමති මණ්ඩලය තීරණය කරා. නෙවිල් ෆර්නෑන්ඩෝ රෝහල රජයට පවරාගෙන අර්ධ රාජ්‍ය ආයතනයක් විදියට ඉස්සරහට පවතින්නේ.
ඔව් බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කියලා තිබුණේ එක ජයවර්ධනපුර රෝහලට සමාන ආකෘතියක් සහිත රෝහලක් බවට පත් වෙනවා කියලා.
දැන් හිටපු ජනාධිපති මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා චෝදනා කළා තිබා ඉතිහාසයේ දරුණු පහර දෙම ඉල්ලගලේ කියලා.
දැන් යාගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ රතුපස්වල වගේ, කඳානේ වගේ
Now, his problem is that nobody killed anybody like how he did during incidents such as Ratupaswala or Kandana. The one who killed people during protests is now talking about how wrong we are to beat up students. He only talks about how we beat up these students. So isn't it also wrong to vandalize the health ministry? I used to be the secretary of the Inter-University Students Federation back then. We never raided any ministry. We discussed everything with proper discipline.
අපි ගිහලා බොහොම වැදගත් විදියට සාකච්ඡා කරේ. මමත්
සයිටම් ජනසතු කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකද රජයේ අවසන් තීරණය.
නෑ ජනසතු කිරීමක් කොහෙවත් කරේ නෑ.
දැන් කතා බහක් තියෙනවා මේ විදේශයන්ගෙන් වෛද්‍යවරු ගෙන්නන්න යනවා මේ වගේ හදිසි අවස්ථාවන්ට මුහුණ දෙන්න කියලා. එහෙම යෝජනාවක් ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙනවද නැත්නම් කතා කරලා?
එහෙම යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. එහෙම තීන්දුවක් නෑ තාම. දිගින් දිගටම ලෝකල් ගවර්නමන්ට් පෝස්ට් ප්‍රමාද වෙනවා. හැබැයි දැන් බෝලේ තියෙන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කියමතුමා.
පළවෙනි වර කීමට දැන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කරා.
Yes, it will be tabled at the parliament for the first reading.
ඒ අවස්ථාවේදී තීරණය කරයි කවදාද මේක විවාද කරන්න කියලා.
දැන් මේ සම්බන්ධව අපේ පක්ෂ දෙක අතර සාකච්ඡාවක් පැවැත්වුණා.
A meeting was held between the two parties regarding the matter. Even a committee was appointed to look into the matter by President and the Prime Minister. Discussions held by a particular committee have been successful. There is a situation where instead of 4,200 member of parliaments, around 8,400 could be appointed. President and the Prime Minister's idea was to reduce that number. A decision will be made during the next party meeting. Minister of Law and Order Sagala Ratnayaka claimed today that the university students were forced to such an unruly behaviour by a political party. Also, opposition views were made by former Minister C.V. Ratnayaka while addressing about Saitam at a separate media briefing in Colombo today. Inter-University Students Federation acted aggressively by breaking into the Ministry of Health. We believe that there is a political influence behind them. It is the Frontline Socialist Party who manipulated these students. There are some other political parties who are helping them to do this. The people who cannot engage in democratic politics create these issues for the youth. New medical students who got admissions to the university have not attended classes for over 6 months. Look at this issue in a politically motivated manner. This needs a diplomatic mediation, otherwise it will not have a solution. I will make a prediction unlike that Sumanadasa. When you try to suppress these children, in the future they will import doctors from India as well. More protests to report to you tonight. Residents of MUTHURAJAWELA protested against dumping garbage at Ratana Bopitya in MUTHURAJAWELA. A tense situation erupted between the residents and the police today.
Residents in MUTHURAJAWELA protested the decision by authorities to dump garbage in the area. Protesters blocked the road that led to the private land demarcated for garbage dumping. Back in April, area residents blocked garbage trucks that arrived to dump garbage in the area.
It is unfair to dump garbage here. I am begging from the authorities to stop this sinful act.
How can they dump garbage to a private land? There is a court case for this. We are all poor people. We build these houses with great effort. This canal overflows during the rainy season. Tense situation erupted when 20 garbage lorries arrived at the area late afternoon today. Despite strong objection by the area residents, police and a special task force took steps to clear protesters so dumping of garbage can commence. Steps have also been taken by the police to provide security to the garbage dumping area.
Welcome back, everyone. President Maithripala Sirisena made an unannounced observational tour to the NEGOMBO District Hospital today. He inspected activities of the hospital and held a special discussion with the specialist doctors who is in charge of the special dengue treatment unit. The president also witnessed the congestion in the dengue ward complex, directed the officials to take immediate measures to expand required facilities. He also inspected other development activities in the hospital and directed Health Minister to provide necessary support. President also said that he would directly interfere into the activities performed by other provincial institutes in addition to the Health Ministry to expedite these activities. Later, he visited the ward complex of dengue patients and also talked with them. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe assures that the country will not be divided by the new constitution. He said this addressing a conference on constitutional reforms this morning in Colombo.
Conference on Constitutional Reforms was organised by the Constitutional Assembly Secretariat under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. A former Deputy Chief Justice of South Africa, Ernest Mosinik, too, was present at the event.
This is a different process because we have accepted the sovereignty of the people and the Parliament's right to enact legislation subject to it being approved by a referendum in certain instances, which will be decided by the Supreme Court. The final authority on constitution making are the people. So the Parliament in the resolution asks the Parliament is responsible for enacting the law. Now the steering committee has to submit the report, but we are now looking at a report being submitted towards end of August. Once the report is there, we should allow time for debate in the country. It should influence the debate in the House. And the earlier divisions that the country is being betrayed is no more there. Now there's only one division. The chief ministers want more power, and at the center, despite parties, we feel it has to be restrained. So that's the only division. We've gone from divisions between political parties to division between the provincial council and the Parliament as to how power should be exercised.
Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, Patali Champika Ranawaka, says that he will continue to evacuate the people who are obstructing waterways and illegal constructions, which results in flooding in various parts of Sri Lanka, especially in the capital, Colombo. He expressed these views participating at the opening ceremony of the Centre for Flood Control and Water Management in Nawala today.
Sri Lanka Land Reclamation and Development Corporation has organised the ceremony with the patronage of the Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, Patali Champika Ranawaka.
We are gradually preparing to face floods in Colombo methodically. This town is constructed around the Kalani river mouth. River mouth is a treasure of an economy of many countries. But in our country, the river mouth has become the main cause for disasters. The Chinese Pearl River Basin helps to produce 1/3 of the world's economy, but it is a sad situation that the Kalani River Basin has been used to build slums, to build industries which emanate waste material. We had to face disaster situations due to the improper urbanization and flood which caused due to the Kalani River. We hope to implement evacuation programs soon in Paliagoda, Kolonava and Kalani areas. We will engage in the process without considering any political affiliations. Also in local news, Senior Research Fellow at the National Security College at the Australian National University, Dr. David Brewster, says that the Indian Ocean can witness a time of strategic instability and uncertainty in the near future. He made these comments at a discussion held under the theme of Sri Lanka's foreign policy, emerging issues in the Indian Ocean, held in Colombo today.
The event saw the participation of the diplomatic community and experts in international relations from across the world, issues pertaining to maritime security in the Indian Ocean and the future of cross-border relations in the region.
As a relatively smaller country compared to some of its neighbours, Sri Lanka is inevitably forced to understand and think about the dynamics of its region. But also, I think, as a trading nation and a maritime nation, what I see is a coming period of strategic instability and uncertainty in the Indian Ocean. Realistic or serious possibility that the United States could become a cause of strategic instability in the region. This would not be good for the region, which for decades has enjoyed the benefits of a Pax Americana. One of the most significant risks of strategic instability in the Indian Ocean is the dynamic between India and China. We're now seeing the development of really quite a negative dynamic in some respects.
Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs Ravi Karunanika says that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will drive towards promoting commercial diplomacy as part of its strategy.
Sri Lanka has so far been largely reactive to the interest of its neighbors and potential partners. We cannot afford to remain complacent, believing that we will automatically reap the economic rewards of a global shift from west to east. Sri Lanka must therefore develop a proactive foreign policy centered on commercial diplomacy to maximize the benefits of growing economic power in our region. We should pursue a hub diplomacy which relentlessly promotes Sri Lanka as the first choice location for regional headquarters of international companies. Our foreign service must also act local by utilizing strategies of para-diplomacy.
Well, time now to take a look at more stories making news across Sri Lanka. 3 ambassadors from Tunisia, Spain, Georgia and the High Commissioner from the Republic of Seychelles presented credentials to President Maithripala Sirisena at the President's house in Colombo today. President Sirisena, referring to close bilateral relations with Sri Lanka and the countries represented by the new envoys, expressed confidence that they would strive to further strengthen bilateral friendship and cooperation in many areas, including trade, investment and tourism. While the High Commissioner of Seychelles will be based in Colombo, others will function as non-resident concurrently accredited ambassadors with residence in New Delhi. President Maithripala Sirisena vested the first phase of the Lakwiru 7 housing complex in Malikavatta with the public this evening. The housing project has been constructed by the Megapolis and Western Development Ministry at a cost of 672 million rupees. The first phase of the project includes 192 housing units, and when completed it would have 768 housing units. The event was participated by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Ministers Patali Champika Ranawaka, Nimal Siripala de Silva, Sarath Fonseca and several other politicians. President of the South Korean Human Resources Development Service of Korea, Professor Park Kyung-bang, said his country would consider increasing the employment quota for Sri Lanka workers. He said this when President Maithripala Sirisena asked about the possibility of increasing the employment quota for Sri Lanka agricultural workers when Professor Park called on him at the Presidential Secretariat today. The trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board today engaged in a protest demanding solutions for several issues. The protest in front of the Electricity Board head office in Colombo requested authorities to raise salaries among many other demands. The protest disrupted traffic along the Chittampalam Ghat near Mouth during the day today. Moving on to business news, the issue of Sri Lanka development bonds amounting to $515 million has been oversubscribed with close to $1 billion of bids received from investors. The central bank has received $452.55 million from the bids for 1 year, 7 months bond, and the bank has accepted $73.93 million at a floating rate of 6 months LIBOR plus 274.93 basis points. The bank has also received $181.29 million of bids for the 3-year bond, and the bank has accepted $107.65 million at a floating rate of 6-month LIBOR plus 364.84 basis points. $181.15 million of bids have been received for the 4-year bond, and the bank has accepted $158.10 million at a floating rate of 6 months. Onto the stock markets now. Shares closed slightly lower today as blue chips fell, but foreign buying capped losses while local investors continued to wait for more clarity on a new tax bill. The Colombo Stock Index ended 0.09% weaker at 6,697.08%, its lowest close since June 19th. The Bourse fell 0.05% last week. Here is RM Sivanandan from the Colombo Stock Exchange with a full report of the day's trading.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Black Lanka Finance, Odell, Adam Capital, Tesegro Non-Voting and Ceylon and Foreign Trades. While the top 5 losers were Anilana Hotels, Lighthouse Hotel, Central Investments and Finance, Nurelia Hotels and Autodrome. Today there were 9 crossings and the crossing turnover was 616.36 million rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 358.1 million rupees and the foreign sales was 149.51 million rupees.
Welcome back everyone. On to sports. Sri Lanka Cricket late last evening announced the outcome of the disciplinary inquiry held against Lasith Malinga with regard to his breach of contract. The special inquiry panel found Malinga guilty of breach of contract after an inquiry held last afternoon at the Sri Lanka Cricket headquarters, where Malinga accepted the charges and tendered a formal apology. The findings were subsequently reported to the executive committee, who imposed a sentence of 1 year suspension, suspended by 6 months, and a 50% fine of his next one-day international match fee. Accordingly, Malinga would be available for selection for the forthcoming Zimbabwe series. Meanwhile, responding to questions about Malinga's sanction, Minister of Sports Dayasiri Jayasekara earlier today stated that any action against him was taken by the Cricket Board and not by the Minister. I am disappointed that Malinga misinterpreted my statement. I have no issues with him personally. Any action taken against him was taken by the Cricket Board and not by me. He may have had to miss some games, but I didn't want that to happen, so I told them to let him play. Lasith Malinga is a crucial player to Sri Lanka, and it may be a mistake not to punish him, but I am not ready to go there. Kumar Sangakkara passed 1,000 first-class runs for the season last evening at Headingley in Leeds. Sangakkara scored a magnificent unbeaten 180, helping Surrey to 516 for 7 before declaration against Yorkshire in County Championship Division 1. The retiring Sangakkara advanced from 82 overnight to his 6th ton and now averages 108.6 this season with 1,086 runs from only 11 innings. More cricket centuries from Heather Knight and Natalie Sewers helped England claim their first win of the ICC Women's World Cup last evening at the Grace Road Stadium in Leicester. The hosts handed Pakistan their second loss of the tournament with a 107-run win on the Duckworth-Lewis method in a shortened game.
Having been put into bat, England piled on a mammoth 337 with Natalie Sewers top scoring with a 97-ball 137 and Heather Knight adding 106 as the pair put on a 213-run third-wicket partnership.
Times now today. That's Paddle, and she will get to her maiden 100 now as well.
Asmavia Iqbal started with the ball for Pakistan, picking up 3 for 62, while Kainat Imtiaz claimed 2 wickets for 68 runs.
Oh, and she's played on.
The teams were eventually called off the field in the 29th over of the Pakistan innings with the score at 107 for 3, with Ayesha Zafar remaining unbeaten on 56.
By 107 runs.
A massive cyber attack hit computers across the world yesterday, taking out the computer systems of major institutions around the world. Cybersecurity experts said those behind the attack appear to have exploited the same type of hacking tool used in the WannaCry ransomware attack that infected hundreds of thousands of computers in May.
The attack took out servers at Russia's biggest oil company, while Russia's central bank said there were isolated cases of lenders' IT systems being infected by the cyber attack. The attack also disrupted operations at Ukrainian banks and shut down computers at multinational shipping and advertising firms worldwide, while shares in the world's biggest advertising agency, WPP, fell 0.8% as a result of the attack. Although first reports of organizations being hit emerged from Russia and Ukraine, the impact quickly spread westwards to computers in Romania, the Netherlands, Norway and Britain, and within hours, the attack had gone global. Meanwhile, security researchers have discovered a vaccine for the attack and say the creation of a single file can stop the attack from infecting a machine. However, researchers have not been able to find a so-called kill switch that would prevent the crippling ransomware from spreading to other vulnerable computers.
While Katharina Chang is at the Weather Centre with the weather.
Now we can see warm weather ranging between 32 and 35 degrees Celsius in most parts of the island, particularly in the east. Fairly strong winds coming from the southwest part of the island is expected to blow across the north and south of the island with wind speeds reaching up to 50 kilometers per hour. Now we can also see patches of clouds over the Ratnapur area and districts with some cloudy skies expected in Puttlam and Vaunia. Wet weather is expected over the southwest region of the island, particularly Negombo, Colombo, Galle, Mathura, Hambantota and Kandy. That is it from the Weather Centre for now, but let's take a look at the city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Indivariya Muatha will return tomorrow night at 9 with the very latest. Be sure to join her then. And before we go, we'd like to leave you with visuals of the world's first ATM. It has been 50 years since Scottish investor Shepherd Barron invented the ATM machine, which was opened on June 27, 1967 at a branch of Barclays Bank in North London. To commemorate the anniversary, Barclays transformed the ATM at its Enfield branch into gold. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.